Hello, my darlings. What's up? It's the Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite albums. And today I'm going to be doing an album review on the new Geordie Greep album, The New Sound. Also, I'm late for work again. I'm constantly late because of these damn reviews. So, Geordie Greep, yes, that's his name. Geordie Greep, like creep, but with a G. Greep, is a British singer, songwriter, jazz musician, and he was the frontman of the incredibly exciting band Black Midi. And ever since the late 2010s, Black Midi has been coming out with one interesting and amazing album after another. We have a series of albums: Schlagenheim in 2019, Cavalcade in 2021, which is one of my favorite albums of the decade so far, and Hellfire, released immediately the year after in 2022, which is extremely critically acclaimed, very fascinating. Black Midi is one of the most boundary-pushing, forward-thinking, interesting, fascinating bands worked right now. They infuse jazz with post-punk, with other Latin-flavored, Arabic-influenced music, and their music usually involves very interesting storytelling as well. So as you can probably tell, I'm a big fan of Black Midi. However, a few months ago they announced that they're breaking up, which is very shocking, but it was kind of vague in regards to what they really mean, because you can also interpret that announcement as hiatus. They're not really breaking up, they're just on hiatus. But essentially, the band, they're not together at this moment, and Geordie Greep, the frontman, has gone solo with his solo debut album, The New Sound, with this absolutely interesting album cover here. And you can tell that Geordie Greep is almost like the backbone of Black Midi's music, because a lot of elements of Black Midi's music sort of turn up on this album in full force. We have the jazzy, Latin-flavored musical style, the old-school 1940s radio show delivery, and Geordie Greep basically takes those and brings it to the new sound. This album also has a concept, and the concept essentially is we have this gentleman womanizer in the early 20th century who pays for an escort, and this entire album is basically narrated by him and what's going on in his mind and his conversations with the escort, and also the ending of that. Now, even though musically this album is very interesting, this album is also not as versatile musically. I feel like there is the same kind of eccentricity and quirky storytelling that you would find on a Black Midi album, but this album is a more focused Greep. It's very Greepish, is what it is. Very auteurist. So, Blues, the album opener. Very interesting opener. We have speedy drums and sharp angular guitars, and it's a very stiff and rambly opener. It's nothing bold, nothing too soft and dramatic. It's just speedy and awkward, and we have essentially the main character of the album talking to himself, probably facing a mirror and just hyping himself up. And you have a bigger dick than any man who's ever lived, and you can come more than 100 stallions, which is such a crazy fucking line. And also, do you know what I mean? 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 He's like an auctioneer. Now, this is very interesting, because on this track, James Dean is mentioned, and a little bit later on the track, we are revealed that the main character is like a war veteran in the year 1862. So I just thought, you're either in the late 19th century / 1900s, or you're in the 1940s and 50s with James Dean. There's a bit of a time era discrepancy there, but who cares? Let's move on. We have the second track, Terra, which is a sweet and dreamy, samba-infused jazz rock track. Love the instrumentals. So beautiful. Love the changing chords, love the jazzy pianos, love the horns. Beautifully arranged. Then we have the lead up single, Holy, Holy, which is crazy. It opens off with these sharp shots of guitars, and then we are introduced to a sequence of bongos and charismatic riffs, and lyrically, the main character is talking to the escort, but once again, he is a narcissist. He is a delusional, narcissistic guy who claims that everyone knows his name and how his name is Holy Holy. And this track is overflowing with energy. I love the vocal harmonies in the chorus. I love the manic performances. It's very weirdly sexual and male gazy, but also that's the point. That's kind of his character. And yeah, really ridiculous performances. From the shores of Havana, from Moscow to Tokyo, in French Guyanese and Cantonese, everyone knows my name. All the revolutionaries. I can go on forever. Also, shout out to Geordie Greep for acknowledging Cantonese. And also the lines, I want you to dress like a sophisticated tart with too much makeup on. Will that be alright? It's ridiculous. Title track is a fantastically funky instrumental track. Some people pointed out that this track sounds similar to Tanaka Masayoshi's music, which I'm not too familiar with, but this track is a slurry of cool keyboards, busy hand drums, wailing guitars. It sounds fantastic, and a great follow-up to Holy Holy. The track Walk Up continues to see the main character talk and flirt with the escort, and on this track, it is beginning to be revealed that he's actually kind of a lonely and insecure guy. You have some slow, steady guitar grooves, wild explosions of horns in the chorus, and at the end of the track, we have crowd yelling. Like Black Midi, whenever they perform John L., they do that at the end. Now it's recorded for a track, and there's even a little country tune at the end. A very, very fun ending indeed. Through a War starts off with the military horns, but the rest of the track is way more subtle, where the main character recalls his heroic stories in the war, but of course they're not heroic at all. And he sort of rambles on about how he went through war in 1862, but the whole track just reveals his warmongering and war-loving personality. Him showing off, oh, have you seen a woman giving birth to a goat? Have you seen a man's head getting split in half? Have you seen this? Have you seen that? And just reveling in the shock value of war. Bongo Season features tight-knit hand drums and bongos that sort of fade in. One of the craziest opening lines to a song ever. Two mice harakiri in the corner of my room, their little paunches bleeding, their tails interlinked. What? But the track sort of gets stale, unfortunately, near the end of the track. Motorbike is performed by music producer Seth Evans, who I'm not that familiar with, but he has this deep voice that is nowhere near as good and as expressive as Greep's. But I do love the panicky and sad turn in the instrumentals and the chord progressions. I like the chaotic ending, but definitely one of the weaker tracks. Now we enter the last leg of the album, where the album gets much sadder and more subtle. We have As If Waltz, where the protagonist begins to be deeply insecure and has a cuck fetish. And I love the airy flutes, the bed of soft strings, the keyboards, the vocal harmonies are all very well put together. Following that, we have The Magician, which is a 12-minute long epic. You think Ascending Forth is epic? This is epic. This is a track where the truth is revealed, where the protagonist finally comes to terms with the fact that he is nobody and he is really insecure and sad. He describes himself as a senile cat's incessant meow, and how he's hiding from life, hiding from his mistress, hiding from family, and it builds up to a cacophonous climax. The album ends off with If You Are But a Dream, which is a piano and horn-backed ballad. We have the instrumentals on this track feels like the ending music for a 1940s or a 1950s American film. There's something so starry and romantic about it, but it's also sad because we have now arrived at a point where the main character is just yearning about intimacy and romance, and how he's afraid of losing them, and it just ends off like that. So yeah, overall this is a very fascinating album, fascinating concept for a fascinating album. I think instrumentally it could have been more versatile, but overall this is still some of the most interesting and bold, daring music to come out in recent years. So I'm giving Geordie Greep's The New Sound a strong 8 to a light 9 out of 10. So have you listened to this album? Comments below, let me know. Subscribe if you want more. Thanks for watching. Gotta go. Bye bye.